They just try and go too far the other side and become really, really, really structured, and maybe just adding in little bits of structure now and then.
For me, it's the same like when it comes to fat loss or anything like that. You've got to start off small and build up. Like people try and do too much at once. I go from 0 to 100. Like if you've got no structure and routine at all, start small. So I like to talk to my clients about this all the time, the importance of habits and routines and structure essentially. And again, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I use a Bible quote. Everyone's heard the story when they're younger about the wise man who built his house on the sand. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and once again, I'm joined by Mr. Mikey Markham. Mikey, how are we?
I'm feeling good today, Dan. How are you?
I'm right, mate. Not too shabby. Can't complain.
Looking great as well, as you say.
Oh, trying. Trying, it's a hard life. Actually, warm in here. Very, very warm today, but again, we should ignore that. Yes, the last thing we did when Katie said questions, that went down really, really well.
Awesome. So, what was that last one about, just out of interest?
What were we talking about last time?
Katie,
what were we talking about? Communication. There we go. Communication.
I'm glad she's here.
Yeah, talk about communication. So again, it's got some good feedback on that.
Brilliant.
I think it kind of has some good structure for us, so I think we'll just roll with that.
So these question ones, and today's, do you want me to go forward with it?
Yeah, let's roll with it. Let's go straight into it.
So today it's about balance, structure and routines. Quite a good conversation, I think, can ensue out of this, because you are very structured in your life, aren't you? Yeah. Do you know by the minute what's happening?
Depending on what day it is, but yeah. I've got my diary. I don't have my diary on the desk. That's over there somewhere. But every morning, I kind of just plan out. Like I've literally got like a diary where it's got the hours.
Do you do that for say on Sunday? Will you get to Sunday and then plan out the whole week, minute by minute, or do you do it at the night before? How does it look?
So I've got like my days. So I basically it's interesting to talk about this as well. And this was actually written. Katie wrote this for last week's podcast, but obviously we couldn't make it last week. She went very well. But then that night I went to the radio and we talk about this on the radio. I know we weren't there, but basically I was talking about structure and routines and stuff. And I've just recently sorted my diary out where I've completely scrapped it clean and rebuilt it. So that on certain days I'm doing certain things. So like on Saturday, I basically blocked out 4 hours to record my Thursday podcasts.
Awesome.
And then I've got a day where I create reels or shorts, whatever you want to call them, where I edit the stuff, where I study. I've got study days. I've got podcast, like guest research days. I've basically fully blocked it all out. So I know what I'm doing.
You do that.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Cool.
So I know what I'm doing on each day. So it's blocked out, the time blocks, and then my gym time's in there as well. And then like Saturday night, there's that date night booked in, so I'm not booking anything out on that. So it works out really well for me. So I know on the day what I'm doing, and then each day I come in, I then look at, so I've got this block out for studying, and I'll write out what I'm going to be studying, and then kind of go from there. And then any gaps I've got, if there's any other stuff I've got to do, I'll then fill the gaps with stuff. Does that make sense?
Because I love that, and I'm starting to implement more of that in my life, and I've got better at it. But also, funnily enough, when I was at my most depressed in probably 17, 18, I really remember that was kind of how I had my life. I had it on the fridge. And it was hour by hour. I mean, I was doing things that I hated as well, like the job I didn't like and stuff. So that is going to contribute to it. But it just felt like I didn't have any nuance, which is my favourite word. I didn't have any sort of play in there. And even when football was on there or boxing was on there and it was all things that I liked, I started to resent because it was just so... There was no breathing space. Do you know where you're doing like swimming and the butterfly where you're coming up and then in, and that's how it felt. I was getting home, then it was straight to there and then straight to there and moving. But I like in yours that you're saying you even scheduling the play or you scheduling the dates and stuff. And I don't think I was doing enough of that as well.
So I think for me, and it begins to where we got to on the radio, because obviously Nick was saying that he's like a lot more free-spirited. And I was like, if I'm released off my own devices, I won't do anything. I'll come in and I get overwhelmed with how much stuff I've got to do. So for me, it's like if I'm just left completely to my own devices and I can just do whatever I want to do, I will get overwhelmed with, well, I've got so much to do, what do I actually do? Now, the last 2 weeks I've actually implemented this, I felt so much more in control. And actually, bear in mind how structured I am anyway about getting stuff done. Like I'm always moving the business forward. I'm always moving my life forward. So that was never a question. But until I'd actually reorganised my diary, I still felt a bit of a sense of overwhelm. And every day I'd come down and be like, what do I actually need to get done today? And it'd kind of take me a bit of a while to get into it. Whereas today it's like, right, Monday, check-in day. So cool, bam. So I don't have to worry about what I'm doing today. It's my client check-in day. Tuesday, that is my, so I've got a big course course I'm putting together. So literally all I do is do the course, like put the course together. That's it. So I go to the gym in the morning, and then I know when I come back, it's not what do I have to do. It's that done. And then I can't remember the rest of the days. But again, I just don't need to worry about stuff getting done because it's scheduled in. So I don't need to worry about recording my Thursday thoughts because it's scheduled in. I don't have to worry about having social media content done because it's scheduled in. I don't have to worry about check-ins, it's scheduled in. I don't have to worry about studying because it's scheduled in. Everything's scheduled in. Obviously, just small blocks of time. So I have got then, like for example, today, I've had nothing to do apart from record podcast. So all morning, I've been able to, what do I want to do today? So I could have literally sacked it off and gone to the PlayStation because all my stuff has got done for the week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't because I chose that actually I wanted to do more on this course I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I've got some, like I said before, I've got some like public speaking contracts that have come up and stuff. So I've been working on that. But I don't need to worry, if that makes sense. So if I'm not feeling great, like I'm coming off caffeine at the minute. So that's a big issue for me, where like the one I had earlier on is like my first cup of coffee today.
My tea's in you right now.
But the thing is, I had one just before we started. But
gonna drink it really sexy.
My biggest thing was that, so again, it all comes down to the radio as well. So 2 weeks ago on the radio, we talked about addiction. It was really interesting. When I left there, I was there and got in my car and I drove off and I started to question myself about caffeine and the amount of caffeine that I have. And I was almost having a massive debate / argument with myself. And then I came to the conclusion that the fact that I was arguing with myself about this tells me that I needed to do something about it.
That's a healthy mindset.
And then basically I came back and spoke to Katie about it. And basically the conclusion was, it's not the amount of caffeine I was having, it was the timings that I was having it. Because, for example, on a Thursday before the radio, I'd have a real weak espresso. And then Friday evening, I've got my client workshops. So I'd have a little espresso before that. And if I do something on a Monday evening, I'd have espresso. So basically, I'd be having like little shots of coffee in the evening to get the stuff done I needed to do. But then it'd be affecting my sleep. I'd still be sleeping, but I wouldn't be as well rested as I wanted to. Which then obviously then meant in the morning, I'd end up having more coffee. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't, I said it wasn't smashing like 5 or 6 a day. Like the most I think we're having is 4. And it wouldn't be all back to back or anything like that. But I just realised I need to kind of rein this in. So I'm basically weaning off it and it's absolutely kicking my ass. Like it's been really hard for me to motivate myself, and I'm not going to bore listeners with it because I will do a whole podcast on this, but that dopamine and like that, trying to get that dopamine, and I'm doing stuff with social media, I'm trying to get off social media as well. Like there's so much stuff that was in there.
Detoxify in every way.
Like basically a dopamine detox is what I needed to do. Because it was really starting to mess me up, I think. Lack of motivation.
So, because a lot of people that are really structured like that, say their day, then something happens that you can't control. Does it affect you? Will you beat yourself up in some way that you didn't get to fulfill that day out in some way or another?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So my days aren't that stacked out. So let's say, for example...
Well, even today, say if the podcast just couldn't have happened, but you're like, well, that was my one thing I needed to do. You can't, it's ruined the day in essence.
Well, it depends if it can't get done. So let's say, for example, the actual podcast cannot get done in the sense of like, it's something that's happened with yourself, like, or there's something that you can't get here, there's no podcast. Well, I've got that time scheduled in. So I'll do something at that time. Whereas but if I can't, let's say something major happens, I don't know, something like a big catastrophe, and like, I can't make the podcast, so then I'd be like, so I can't then be productive with it and something's happened. Then I'd be like, okay, well, do we have some in the bank? Which we do. So like last week you were ill, cool. So no issue, it's in the bank, cool. But then otherwise I then try to move my diary around. So then, for example, let's say on a Tuesday, so yesterday we had a meeting. So I had the big meeting yesterday, me and Katie, and that was right in the middle of one of my things. So I literally picked up my diary and moved it across. So because I don't stack it so much that I can't move it, if that makes sense.
I think you sound really healthy the way that you've got structure in your life, and it feels quite balanced in how you've done it. There must be people that have structure in their life that's kind of so rigid that they can't maneuver anything other around it, and it can affect and impede on their mental health. Have you met people in your coaching or just friends or anything that have that sort of unyielding approach with how they are with structure?
Yes, like almost like a perfectionism kind of thing. Like everything has to be so structured and organised and routines and stuff. Like Katie was bad for it when first met Katie.
Yeah, Katie.
Again, a few people I know they're basically like you said. They're so this is the way it has to be. Because
it would shock all of you. I was like that at one stage in my life, but because it gave me so much depression and anxiety, it sent me the other way.
But again, it depends on what age you were as well then. So again, when you're young, and again, no one's told you this thing. Like I've studied, like I like to study successful people, and that's basically where I've come to the conclusion of this is how I'm doing it. Whereas if I was left to my own devices, I probably would have gone your way, where I wasn't doing any. I'd literally been back to back every day. So then it caused me even more. Like I said, because if something gets cancelled or gets missed, I can't move it around. So I've got it into a really good place now.
Yeah.
But I can imagine again where people get so like neurotic on it. It has to be this way.
Yeah.
They've got no flexibility. It's so rigid. Like again, I don't necessarily think that's healthy either, because it's like you want to have just a rough guidelines. Let's say I'm going into an organisation to talk about stuff like that. You want to be looking at like, right, what's the basic essence of what you want to get done for the day? And then you kind of structure that in. Like, what's the big projects that you've got? Like, what's stuff that needs to be done by the end of this week? So on a Monday, like, let's say you've got different podcasts that you're working on, like video editing, like, but you know that 2 of them are going out next week, and then another one's in a month's time. Like, you're not going to bother doing one in a month's time because it's going to get done, but you know, right, I've got to get these 2 ones done. You know it takes you 3 hours to edit it, let's say. You should be able to look at your diary and be like, right, where can I fit this in? And just be a bit more relaxed with it. And then on a daily basis, like, actually got some stuff to do for the farm. So it's like looking at it on a day-by-day basis, what needs to get done for the day, and then just being realistic about what you can actually achieve, and then delegate if you need to.
And I suppose some people are really unrealistic in the structures that they put themselves across with, because say if you hate your house being messy, and they've not put in cleaning and doing the dishwasher and doing the walk with the dog and all them things, but you've also tried to ram your day with, and I need to get 4 podcast edits done, and this done, and this done, you've just overcrowded yourself.
Yeah. And it's then also looking at delegation a bit as well. So if you've got a partner, can your partner help you out with walking the dog, for example? And again, I think people try and do too much themselves.
Chrissy.
Yeah. the best thing is, like, can you just like delegate it? So let's say you've got a really busy day, and let's say you're the dog walker, but then actually your day's absolutely rammed, saying to Chrissy, would you mind walking the dog today? Just communicating that. Or let's say like Chrissy's in a different position, she says to you, like, Mikey, can you do this today? And I think when you're in a relationship, or you've got that ability, like whether you live with friends or house share or parents, whatever it is, whatever your living situation is, can you delegate as much as you can if those days do get a bit crazy?
Yeah, well, I mean, some big things for us, we have got a dog walker now, and we have got a cleaner, and that really helped us because, you know, I love being in a nice clean household, and then having a really busy day and then getting back to that and thinking, I can't be bothered. It just surmounted. So if you can afford that as well, there are great ways of delegating and having help outs.
That's what it is. It's literally looking at stuff like, if you don't enjoy doing something, delegate it out. If you can. Like, I know not everyone can afford a cleaner or a dog walker or stuff like that, but if it is a possibility, like, and the stuff that you really are struggling with, can you delegate it? Again, same with work as well, like, because people try and do so much, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you work for yourself or you've got your own business. People try and do so much for themselves, and it's then actually being like, let's say for example, accounting. I'm not good at accounting, so why would I do the accounting? I pay someone to do it for me, and it's just looking at stuff like, stick to what you're good. If you can, when you start out and you can afford it, just stick to what you're good at and what you enjoy and fills your cup up, and then the rest of it just delegate it out if you can. I know not everyone can, but again, it's such an important aspect. Like video editing, could I get some cameras and edit and record this podcast? Yeah. But it's not my forte. I don't enjoy doing it. You love it. So why would I do something I don't enjoy doing, but you enjoy doing it? Does that make sense? It makes no sense to me to do that. Like, you enjoy doing it. Cool. There you go. Enjoy do that. Like, sorry, Karen.
No, I was just going to... So we've spoke quite heavily on people that have quite strong and unyielding structures, and the tip over for the mental health can be like where it becomes overbearing. What about people that have got absolutely no sense of structure in their life, like I've been in my life as well? Yeah. Do you have thoughts and advice for those people? Because again, maybe that's not how they like to live, and then they're not happy in life, so they're thinking, well, I'm going to add some structure in. Will they just try and go too far the other side and become really, really, really structured, and maybe just adding in little bits of structure now and then?
For me, it's the same like when it comes to fat loss or anything like that. You've got to start off small and build up. Like, people try and do too much at once. I go from 0 to 100. Like, if you've got no structure and routine at all, start small. So I like to talk to my clients about this all the time, the importance of habits and routines and structure, essentially. And again, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I use a Bible quote. Everyone's heard the story when they're younger about the wise man who built his house on the sand. You heard that one? No. So again, you've got the wise man who built his house on the sand.
We always get into a fable, I love it.
So the wise man built his house on the sand, and then the rain came, the storms came, and his house collapsed. And you've got the wise man who built his house on the rocks. And then when the storm came, his house stayed strong. So for me in that's talking about your habits, routines, and your structure. So if your life is built on the foundations of sand, when life goes a bit turbulent or life throws you a curveball, your house or your life is going to collapse. Where actually, if you've got strong, solid foundations, your habits and your routines, that is the backbone of success. I'm not talking about success when it comes to fat loss or anything, it's success in life. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to financial stuff, you've got to have some sort of structure and routine so that when life goes a bit crazy and the storm of life comes, your house and your life don't capitulate because you've got those habits and routines to fall back on. Now again, I'm not saying it has to be that crazy, but it's just looking, do you have something so basic as, do you have a bedtime? Most people don't even have a bedtime. Okay, the body loves structure, the body loves routine, it loves order. So if you can get just a basic bedtime and a wake time, straight away, that's a bit more structure and order and balance in your life. Straight away, that then help you just then navigate from there. It's then just looking at then like, so what's the last thing you do before bed? Like, again, what's in the morning? Like, are you just really chaotic? So prime example with this, like we use Katie's example again, like when it came to dropping Theo off at nursery, sometimes the mornings would be chaotic. The reason why some of the mornings were chaotic is because she'd be washing her hair. And it'd be in a rush and things are crazy. So I said to her, like, why don't you wash your hair the night before? Wash your hair the night before, guess what? The next morning becomes less chaotic. And it's just little things like that people can implement. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy where you sat there organising your day to the minute, like I kind of do. But it's just like, right, with your structure and your routine, what can you do in the morning that will just make things a bit easier and calmer for you? In the evening, what can you do to make things a bit easier and calmer for you? And again, you can't control kids. You can't control the uncontrollables. But what can you do? Because this is where people get this wrong as well. When it comes to habits, routine, structure, it's not about the structure, it's not about the routine, it's not about the thing, it's about the vibrational frequency it gets you in. So each morning, can you do something that gets you in a good headspace so you can then attack the day? That's what it's all about. It doesn't have to be an hour-long morning routine or anything like that. You don't have to have it all structured out, but can you just do something where when you wake up in the morning, you are feeling good and you're ready to attack the day? And again, in the evening, just unwind so you're ready to go to sleep. That's what we're talking about here. It's not anything crazy. So to answer your question there, like, if people are feeling a bit chaotic and crazy and want to start something, just start small. Yeah. Like, where's your struggle? Do you have a bedtime? If the answer is no, get a bedtime and a wake time.
It's good advice on just looking at sort of what's the worst part in your day? Where does that come in? Because mine was the morning for a while, but I realised because we were so heavy with business for so long, and it was all a little bit elusive and in the air, I didn't know what was happening. I'd stopped going to the gym. It wasn't really bad mental health, but I just felt I needed to not spend energy anywhere else other than trying to fix the business. But when I put the gym back in, it was a non-negotiable, and that was my morning, because I didn't like mornings. It was all, great word, chaotic. I got up, kids were crying, Chrissy was a little bit stressed, the dogs pooed on the floor. It was just, I hated mornings. But now I get up an hour earlier, I have my glass of water with my vitamins that I've got now. Keep getting colds, man. Bloody don't have kids. And then I have my vitamins, and then I go straight to the gym, and that hour just sets me. I come home, I'm listening to music that I love, and straight away I'm starting from here, and that just sets the day. So yeah, I think that, just to reiterate your advice that you were giving, I can actually say that works 100%.
And again, if people can't go to the gym, it's like, can't go to the gym. Okay, you don't have to go to the gym. So, it's not about that, but for you, it got you. You came back to you know.
I could do that, but it was about me being aware of what don't I enjoy, what's not working, how can I change it, and that's something I could implement. But you can always implement something, can't you?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's a lot of the time, like, people just don't have any sort of direction, and that's where they're struggling. And again, when it comes to direction in terms of like having goals for their life or whatever it is, you've got to have some sort of just something that kind of just holds you steady and you're moving towards. So again, if you're feeling a bit uneasy, right, just get yourself settled. Just find something that just gets you in a good headspace. Again, even in the morning, if it's just your cup of coffee. If you can, like I said, if you've got kids, can you just wake up 10 minutes earlier? Because 10 minutes in the grand scheme of things ain't going to do much. Just have your cup of coffee in silence before the kids wake up, saying you are then ready before they're awake to actually then go and attack the day. So little things like that make such a big difference. And again, just looking at your work schedule, and is there a certain time of the month, like when end of the month when it comes to accounts and bills coming out, whatever it is, like, is that the time when you feel really chaotic? If it is, then start to notice that. And again, you've got women when it comes to time of the month as well. Like, again, if you notice that whether your periods and you're ovulating, whatever it is, like your emotions and your mood, whatever it is, cool. Like, just structure things into your diary around that time where it just gets you in that good headspace, rather than maybe overloading yourself when actually you don't have the energy, mental capacity. And again, I understand that can't always be necessary, like depending if you're working for somebody else and stuff. But it's just looking at the patterns and being like, what can I do just to make my life a little bit easier? Because people just make it hard on themselves, and it's just like they're banging their head against a brick wall. So just take a step back. What can you do to settle yourself a little bit? And that, for me, where like that structure just comes into play, where you kind of know where things are, like, and it makes a massive difference. No,
I completely agree. So we've spoke quite well on both ends of the spectrum there, and we were talking before this with Katie and saying the word that comes up now on all social media everywhere is balance. Yeah. So yeah, what is balance in your mind? Is it in every part of your life, always having things sort of equal, or does balance come and go? Because I think that's for me. There's an imbalance in balance for me, where I've tried to be really balanced all the time. it doesn't really suit me. I work really well, like my exams, I crammed. And same with my workload. Sometimes when I've got quite a lot stacking up, I'll do all my edits and everything I've needed to do in the past week in one night. But it kind of just suits who I am and how I work. Because then I know, or I'll get on really top of it all, and I'll have a massive space here where I can relax a little bit. People may see that as like imbalanced, but I see that is my balance. Does that make sense? Yeah. It is sort of knowing who you are and knowing what your balance is all about.
It's knowing how you work. I think for me, like, people like this idea of balance, but I don't think there is such thing as balance. Because like I said, the question is, well, what is balance? Like you said, but for me, you've got like family, you've got finances, work, all this sorts of play. When you're working. So then it's on like a sliding scale. So when you're busy working, like family has to then take a nosedive.
Yeah.
You can't be going at this spectrum here of work and have the same amount of energy, time, and dedication to family. It doesn't really work. So people need to understand that for me, balance is a sliding scale.
Yeah.
Like people try and spin all these plates and try and, when you're working, you're working. When you're with your family, you have the family time. And I think that's the thing. Like when you're doing something, just be kind of all in on that thing that you're doing. Try and find balance and balance that work-life balance. Like you can get a work-life balance, but it's not this perfect equilibrium. It's not going to ever be that way, because sometimes you can have projects, sometimes you have to work late, so it's going to change. So if people try and get this perfect 50-50 balance, like a seesaw, it's not going to work that way. Like it's just like, again, it's like a seesaw. It's just slightly balanced. It's going to go either way. That's what it's all about. The problem is when it becomes so lopsided, that one's smashed down to the bottom, one's sky high. That's where it becomes a problem. But people try and get this perfect balance, and I don't think it exists. I don't think it can exist, because like when you're with your family, like you should be all in there on your family. And again, that's probably the only thing where you kind of want it to be like slightly on the higher end. But then if you're constantly with your family, you're not getting any work done. So for me, like I don't believe there's such thing as balance. I use a Rubik's Cube analogy, where basically if you're looking at Rubik's Cube, the most out of all the sides, so again 6 sides, the only size you can see, the maximum you can see is 3. The maximum you can see is 3. So it's like that could be your health, it could be family, it could be work. But then there's the 3 other ones you can't see, because you can't balance everything perfectly at once. And then what happens is, let's say something happens with the family, there's a family emergency, then suddenly everything else goes to the back burner and you're just focusing on that one side. So for me, that's what it's all about. And those 3 just changes around depending on what you're doing, but you can't ever have that perfect balance.
I think to know if you've got it or not, it's about a deep self-awareness again, because it comes to feeling. Like there's been times where I've been with family and just really immerse myself in it, but then I've let it slide to the next day and the next day and the next. But there's a deep feeling where I'm like, oh, my work's mounting up now. I'll just give it another day. But then it becomes like quite anxiety ridden, and I realise I've got so much to do, and that really affects my mental health. So I think I know who I am now. I'm fairly aware, and I can go, I can leave it another day. I can, because I know that I can do that in a night quite happily.
But I think you know your ability to execute. So if you've got 5 edits to do, and you've got the ability, like, right, I should do an all-nighter. So you've got that in the bag.
And I quite enjoy it.
But I know that I don't have that. I could not. I could do, obviously, but I know that'd be very, very caffeine fueled. One night doing that would then mess up my next 3 days.
I know what you're saying.
So I can do it, but I would choose not to. Whereas with you're good with that. Like it's not an issue for you.
It's just a thing where, because obviously, with kids and stuff as well, you do want to get home and be able to see them and so on, but there's just something in me that once in a very blue moon I will do a long night, and I really enjoy the quietness. It's all dark. I'll go downstairs, I'll get a coffee. You probably definitely shouldn't, but doesn't suit most people. But I really enjoy those nights. It doesn't happen that often, but that'll work. And then I think the balance for me in all of that is because I know myself. That's what it comes down to. So that's my advice for people, really, is not try and look at everybody else and go, well, that looks like a balanced lifestyle and that's balanced. It's who are you?
Because what is balance? Down. I said, what is it? It's so subjective. Like, what is balance? Your version of balance and my version of balance are two completely different things. And that's what people, like I said, that's what people need to. The first thing they need to do is like ask themselves, what is balance? What does it actually mean to them? And like I said to you the other day, like when we had that conversation, I think we mentioned it on the last episode, where she sat down and was like, well, what's the main thing you want to focus on? And you're like, family. was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it makes you realise that you didn't have that balance in the right area that you wanted to for you. Like, you're spending more time doing this other stuff. It wasn't important, but actually you realise your balance had gone one lopsided way, and then you've corrected it, and now you're, again, feeling loads better, and everything's like, but for you, it's understanding, but actually I can't let it go too far out of the way for that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing, I think, where people, again, it comes down to values as well. Like, what do you value?
Yeah.
Like, because again, you value family time. Well, I don't necessarily have a family. Like, obviously got Katie's little lad Theo, but obviously he's not my little lad. So it's like, I don't value the same time with him as Katie does for example. So Katie's going to value more time spent with him than particularly I am. Obviously, the more time I spend with him, that's going to sort of change. But then I really value working.
Yeah.
I love working. Whereas people that work a 9-to-5 job and hate their job, they're not going to value working. So I think it also comes back down to, like, what do you actually value?
Yeah.
And then you can sort of go from there. It's like, so on these things that I value, where am I with this? Like,
it's a good beacon of light, isn't it?
Yeah, no, what cups are full and what cups aren't full? Like, what have I neglected? And like I said, it comes down to that feeling. Like, if you value your job and your work, which you do, if you're spending all your time with family, which is one of your biggest values, actually this other cup over here has been neglected, you'll get that feeling of, wait, I'm not getting that met either. So it's kind of just looking at, like, what do you actually value? And then again, go back to the first one about the structure. Make sure you're getting stuff in to actually get those values, like stuff that you value. So for me, date night, non-negotiable, Saturday, bam, it's in there.
That's a good point as well. It goes back to the last episode we did with communication, because the one where I felt I was lacking the most in my balance was my relationship. Sort of, we just managed to balance with the kids and we're getting really good kid time. I was having my solo days where I'd either go to a spa or I'd be at the gym at least. I'd have time to myself. The business was all getting met and my edits were all good. But then, I forgot about this one over here and I just felt something was lacking. But then I had to have really good communication to be able to say, where are you on the scale and how are you feeling? And then we've implemented stuff there where, just a simple thing where Chrissy just needed to breastfeed, or what's it called, Katie, where you get it for somebody else? Express a milk, and now my grandma was looking after her just for an hour or two, and it gives us that time back, and I really feel I've equalised that equilibrium now.
But it's just like you said, it all comes down to awareness. Most stuff comes down to awareness. I did a workshop with my clients on this the other day, and for me, the whole premise of that, again, I've been doing these workshops with my clients for about 2 years, and this one I did on awareness. I probably should have done it a long time ago, because everything comes down to awareness, because without awareness you can't do anything about it. So it's then asking yourself, like, when you do feel more out of control, just take a step back and be like, right, what's the common denominator here? Is it that you're neglecting things that are important to you, like downtime, like family time, or your work? And then ask yourself, right, well, what can I do to make sure that I've got my structure and my routine in place so that I'm not neglecting these things? So I do kind of have that balance. If you know you're working loads, okay, well then you've got to, in your structure, I believe, the word got to, like, I believe that you should be trying to then equal it out and balance it out. Just so you're not just one-sided, where literally from Sunday to Sunday you're working every single day and you're not spending any time with your partner or your kids. It's like, right, actually I need to just book in a date night, or I need to book in, just come back home early one night for the kids, or whatever it is, and then you can go from there.
Because being reflective to my younger self, and I'm not talking like really young, but in either teens to early 20s, because I was listening to so much self-help and reading books and podcasts and all them things, and it was always balance. I remember there was times where I was on a good flow with work and I'd be getting stuff done, but then I'd stop myself because they would tell me you're not being balanced. And because I was malleable at the time and suggestible, and I wanted to listen to those guys, I'd stop myself because I thought, well, I've got to go and have a nice day for myself now because I've not been balanced. But actually, the person I am now, if I was in that flow of work, I would have kind of gone, no, I'm cool. I know that I'm still feeling in creative work mode. So just keep pushing and wait for yourself to feel that now I need the balance. Do you know what I'm saying now?
And this thing, when it comes to that, again, this is where I think spirituality, that self-help space, can get a bit dangerous, because for people to achieve anything they want to in life, there's no balance. If you look at people that run a successful multi-million-pound business,
completely agree. That's
there is
exactly
no
what I'm trying to say.
You can't have balance.
Yeah.
You have to understand that, and again, your word nuance in this, you have to work long days, you have to work long hours, and everything you're doing should be put into that, especially for people working for you and that rely on you. You should be doing that. The caveat to that is that it shouldn't be this 24/7 grind harder culture that's going on nowadays. There needs to be, as you sort of referenced to there, is you grind it out, you're working hard. Like, you've got to work hard. People just don't want to work hard. When you're working hard, it's going to be hard. You're going to have long hours and things are going to have to give. You're not going to be able to see friends. Your partner should hopefully be understanding of that and realise that's the case. And again, your kids are probably too young to understand, and they'll understand when they're older. But you've got the life that you wanted. That being said, there has to be a point where you have to have a little bit, when, again, you can't just keep putting your foot on the accelerator. You've got to realise when the engine's going to burn out and then pull back. That's when you start to get the balance back again, and then you go again. And look at any successful sports person. So me and Kate watching this documentary on American quarterbacks, and all their partners were so supportive because they knew during the football season they were hardly going to see them. But then one of the quarterbacks basically said, Benjamin, all the teams train on Tuesday. He was like, I'm taking Tuesday off. So he literally said, as part of him going to this club, I think it was the Vikings, he basically said to the Vikings in his contract, he's taking Tuesday off to spend time with his wife because he literally does not see her. And for him, that's one of his non-negotiables. Like, if you want me to be a quarterback, like, I need this day with my wife and my kids, and that's it. Because during the football season, they never see him. But then she also understands that he's a NFL starting quarterback, like the star of the team. So he has to go and do that to live the life that they want. And that's the thing. It's also making sure you've got a partner or, again, friends and stuff that realise that actually when it's go time, when you're trying to grow your business, when you're trying to do something, when you're trying to better yourself, when you're trying to lose that 100 pound of body fat, whatever the hell it is you're trying to do, like, you're going to have to say no to things. And there's an amazing thing that I heard recently about this called saying the season of no. And that's basically what I've kind of got into now, where it's like, you've got to go through a season of saying no to actually grow something. Because if you're saying yes to everything, you're never going to get going. And you kind of have to have that season of no to be like, no, I'm not going to meet those friends. No, I'm not going to go out for dinner. No, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that because I'm actually working, I'm focusing, or I'm bettering myself in whatever capacity that is for you. And I think that's something that people don't do. They don't give themselves that space and time to actually get going. As you said, once you've got the momentum, keep the bloody momentum going. Like, that's why on that Tuesday when, so on Wednesday we had that gap or whatever it was. Yesterday or no, today. Like, I'm in a really good groove now with creating this course. So any time I've got some space, I'm in a good groove. Guess what? I'm start chipping away at it. Like, I'm in a groove with it. I don't want to lose that momentum. And people don't seem to understand momentum. Like, people want to get momentum. People want to feel good. Like, the only way you can get that is by keeping the momentum. Like, just don't allow yourself to stop with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't talk yourself out of it. Don't start to make compromises. And like you said there, like, you can get this toxic thing of like, oh, you've got to find balance. Depends where you're at in your life and depends what you want to achieve. It
becomes contrived balance then, doesn't it? You're being forceful with it, and it's like, I think it all best comes down with feeling. Be like water. It comes down with feeling, but again, if you want to succeed with anything in life, you have to understand that it's going to be unbalanced for a certain time. But that's the feeling for me. If you know I'm on the success train at the minute, it's, you can feel that, you can tell. So it's like,
some people then don't, again, when it comes to limiting beliefs, some people get on that success train and then they automatically derail it.
I hear you.
So they're on that success train, they're not used to feeling successful.
Maybe
their beliefs,
less than feeling. It's like, first it's truly knowing yourself. That's when you can go more on the skill of feeling. If you don't truly know yourself, then you have to implement structures.
No, I agree with that 100%.
I agree with that 100%.
Is there any other questions we've got on this one, by the way?
What's that?
How many questions have we got?
Well, mate, we've answered all accidentally.
That's good.
But the end one is sort of summarising it in terms of somebody that's feeling really imbalanced in their life and somebody that's got absolutely no structure or way too much structure where they're unyielding with it. Do you have advice for these people, and can you sort of conclude it in everything that we spoke about today, or some main takeaways that you can really think about?
I think just essentially a good summary of what we spoke about, and the first thing is you've got to start to know yourself. And right now, where you're at in your life, what is most important to you? Again, like, is it your family? Is it you're young on in your career and you basically work in this business that you're trying to set off? That's the most important thing for you. So first thing you've got to ask yourself, like, where does your energy need to be? Because you can't really divide it 50-50 because then nothing gets done. Like, it's like you're either going all in on your business and then realise that someone else is going to suffer for a little bit, or you're going all in on your family and like being the best dad you can.
Just have loads of half cups.
Exactly. So for me, it's like you become a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, just focus on like one thing. But again, just ask yourself, like, what do you value? Because like I said before, like, you were working crazy hours, but actually one big thing you valued was family time. And once you realised you found that balance, it then actually allowed you to then actually get better at your work because you weren't overworked and overwhelmed. So once you've then got that, it's then asking yourself, right, what habits, routines, structure can I put in place to make sure that you do have a cut-off point? So that you actually then, if you are going all in on work, let's say, you're not working 24 hours 365. Like, actually, you've got a cut-off point. So actually, I'm going to make sure that, I start work at 8 o'clock and I'll finish at 8 p.m. Let's say it happens to be that crazy like things. But it's not necessarily about the amount of time you're working. It's like, what are you doing while you're working? Because most people are busy being busy. They're not actually being productive.
Yeah.
So most of the time, it's like this grind culture of you've got to do all this stuff. So actually, can you be a bit better with your time? So for example, you say you do that all night with all the edits. Actually, if you looked at the weeks and months before, you probably had a bit of time where you had 2 hours spare.
Yeah.
You probably playing on the PlayStation or something. But actually looking back at it, could have actually done an edit there, so you didn't need to do this all-nighter. So then for me, it's then like, can you actually structure in your day? Actually, every Thursday evening, after you finished here, whatever, I'm going to book in 3 hours, and that is my editing time.
That was a good implement. That was something that
when you was here doing
has helped loads. When we had that discussion, because that's really helped me solidify, right, Dan's are Thursdays, that's my day for Dan. And then I can work out all my other days because of that. Well, that's just a good thing.
But then you used to then sit here and edit afterwards. Again, you can have that editing time, or on a weekend, an editing time, or whatever it is. It's just then looking at what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then can you book that in? So like I said, you're going on your business. Okay, well, what kind of structure you can have on your business? Like where you're at. If you're a complete new beginner or whatever it is, cool. Well then, what days you've got stuff out, so when you're actually working, you're being more organised and structured, and then it's like, right, actually one day a week, can I have half a day where I actually spend time with my partner and my kids? Cool. That's then on that spectrum. Or if it's the other way around and you want to spend more time with your kids and you value that, cool. Well then have that cut off for finishing work at 5 o'clock. As soon as you finish at 5 o'clock, you don't work. Then you realise, especially if you're self-employed or whatever it is, then actually you're leaving a lot of money and opportunity on the table, but that's the price that you're paying for this. It's just been having a real honest conversation with yourself and like, right, what do I want my life to look like in 5 years' time and then 10 years' time? So if in 10 years' time you want to be a multimillionaire and have a great business and this successful life, understand that you have to do the work now and actually reap the rewards further down the line. But if in 10 years' time you want to have a really super close relationship with your kids and you're not really too bothered about the financial side of things, okay, well then that's cool. But most people don't have a clue and they're just bumbling along looking at stuff they see on TikTok and Instagram of if you're not working 24 hours and you're not grinding hard and you're not and if you've not got black bags under your eyes, then you're not really trying. And that's not the case at all. One of the biggest things I've learned from some of my mentors is like, it's not about how long you're working, it's about what you're actually doing when you're working, because most people are busy being busy and they're not actually being productive. So if you can actually book out time and just go on like just focus sprints where you're just actually focused, you've got no distractions and you're busting your ass, you get so much more done, which then means you don't have to work such long hours and you're actually being productive. And each day it's just asking yourself, am I moving the needle forward in my life to get the outcome that you want? So whatever that is for you, like again, whether it is losing £50, whether it's having this these savings and whatever it is, or having this amazing relationship, every day have you moved the needle slightly further forward? If the answer is yes, you've got the compounding effect and become a lot easier moving forward.
I like that you always bring it back to what do you want and you, and putting it all on the individual, because I think social media, especially TikTok, you get these influencers and they just, wasn't there somebody recently that said, oh, why can't everyone just make money? Is this girl
Kim Kardashian or something stupid like that?
Yeah, it was, and actually we found out that her dad was a millionaire or something.
I know what you mean.
Do you know, it was on my podcast, wasn't it?
I know exactly what you mean.
But there was so many young people that would have been looking at that and thinking, well, yeah, I should be able to make it now. And there's something in there, but you've got to find your journey. They would have just followed what they said, T to T to T. And it doesn't work like that. So it's all it's a process of your journey. And I think that's so important.
And that's the thing as well. Like, I never, when I'm on doing this podcast, whether it's the Thursday Thoughts or the ones by myself, I'm never preaching. I'm just telling you, like, in a strong way, like, this can work. These things do work. But at the end of the day, take a little bit, if you don't disagree with everything I've just said over the last 37 minutes and what Mikey said, cool, I guarantee there'll be one thing you can implement, or say, I really don't like that. Well, cool, because it's not all about like what you do like, it's what you don't like and why you don't like it. Does that make sense? So it's not always about like, oh, this works. Like, okay, well, this doesn't work. Why does it not work? Does that make sense? So my dad always said to me, it's a great bit of advice he said to me when it comes to like business and stuff like that. He said it's not about just learning what people do well. It's learning why people haven't done stuff well, and actually learn why that's not a good thing. So again, if you're listening to me talking, thinking that's absolute rubbish, okay, well then ask yourself, why is it rubbish? Because then you've learned something, and then you can use that to implement your life. Does that make sense? So for me, and I say this to my clients all the time, I'm not there to tell them what to do. I'm not there to tell them how to think or anything like that. They know the answers. They just need people. Like, and I said this about Theo learning to ride a bike. So teaching Theo how to ride a bike, he's 4 years old. And the funny story behind this is that when Katie asked his dad, does he know how to ride a bike without stabilisers? His response was, yes, but he just hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, I like that.
So the answer then is no. He hasn't. He's not done it. So it's like, to me, it's like, can I do a double backflip? Well, yeah, I just haven't done it yet. But then I laughed, because I was like, that's a stupid answer. But I was like, well, technically, he didn't mean it this way. Technically, it's correct.
Yeah.
Because we all know how to do stuff, we just don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Like,
it is a good answer,
I
isn't
know
it?
how to do a backflip. I still don't know how to do it yet.
It's better than what I get from all the kids on the farm where it's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because that just puts the barriers up straight away.
Yeah.
It's like you've decided that, you've told yourself that, and now you've built an identity out of that.
But everyone knows how to do, everyone's got the ability to do anything.
Yeah.
And all my job is just to basically just shine the light on this stuff to be like, you know how to do this. You just don't know how to do it yet. So my job, again, as a coach, mentor, whatever it is to basically just be like, here's how you can do it. Try this. And then they try it, and maybe it does work, or it doesn't. But again, if it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? Because then it's starting to learn about themselves. Like you, I can't be that structured because it doesn't work for you. Because again, you get so overwhelmed with it, and it gets you anxious that you've got no free time. Okay, so now you know it does work for you because it does work for you because you get stuff done, but it doesn't work for you because you don't have that free time. Okay, so if then schedule free time into it, maybe that works for you.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm not going to say that because that's not how I do it.
But it's also an openness and a willingness to try new things. That's really important.
And accept you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And the more I go down this route, the more you realise you don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. No one knows anything. Everyone's just winging it. And that's the thing, when people talk, again, David Eames is big on this, like people talking absolutes. Like, and sometimes I can be guilty of speaking absolutes, but again, I'm speaking my truth.
He speaks in absolutes.
Yeah, I know. But it's just me, it's just me speaking my truth with, I know that I've been in that bad place mentally, and I know that I've been lost, stuck, and all that stuff. So when I'm speaking so passionately, and so like, this is kind of the way, it's because I just want people to just be like, oh, there is a way out.
Yeah.
And whether it works for them or not is irrelevant, because as long as they're learning along the way and they've got their growth mindset of, I'm going to try it and see it, and then as you go, you just learn, develop, and move forward. That's how life works. Like you got the original car. Like people looked at the original car and like, oh, that's great, but actually, let's improve this. And then another company came along, oh, we like this, we don't really like that. And then that's basically, it's a constant and continual improvement.
You're only sharing your lived experience, aren't you?
It's my truth. And I said my truth, like I said, because people are just so desperate for information, but they don't know where to look. And as I said, my job is just to shine some light and be like, this might be the answer. If it's not, it plants a seed, which then hopefully sprouts into something else. That's what it's all about for me.
And that was, I've had to make some hard decisions recently, because I love doing the BBC thing and so on, but I've had to like take little steps away because my life was getting all consumed. So sometimes it's making really tough, thought out decisions, but knowing what you need in it to be. And I know we've said that loads, but I think it is really good to keep reiterating those points. It's like, what is your goal? And mine recently was, the business was a bit shaky, so I really need to solidify that. Not enough time with kids. And now I can edit after this. I'll edit this bit, what we're doing right now. It's all done. And then I've got a bit of a night to myself to just set and go again.
And that's it. But then you've got to know that. And again, because like I said, we're really used to, the BBC. It's like, well, what was it bringing you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's great to chat to some people, but you chat to most of us on a weekly basis anyway.
100%,
so it doesn't.
I brought all you fools together.
Yeah, there we go. And that's the thing you look at. It's like, you didn't need to do that. So
beautiful, man.
Where can people find more information about you, Mikey?
I'm looking down here. Hello, me up there. I'm Rhythmical Mike at the Old Farm Bus.
And I've changed my Instagram. It's now the Prime Life Project. So you've got to change the little thing that comes up at the bottom of the screen. I've changed the Instagram. So it's not Daniel James Coaching anymore. It's
okay.
Prime Life Project. So there we go.
More work
go
for
check
me.
it out. Till next time, take it easy.